Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Buzz 101. We are broadcasting live from Kutztown University here in the heart of Amish country, I guess we could say.
We'll call it that.
Not much out here, but we do have a gorgeous day outside.
We do. It's beautiful.
Regardless, we are here from the Kutztown Small Business Development Center. My name is Mike Grimm. I am the government procurement specialist here, but also take a heavy interest in social media, which is why we're here today. Over to my left, maybe your right, is Peter Hornberger.
That's right. And good morning. I'm Peter Hornberger, and I work also here at the SBDC with Mike, and my role here is as the online marketing specialist, something like that. Basically, my role is to help businesses that are trying to market and sell figure out ways to navigate the different marketing arenas that are out there. Particularly, one of the things that we talk about a lot is digital marketing, which includes websites, it includes social media, and lots of other things. So we're trying to come to you with current, topical, relevant information about marketing, particularly digital marketing arenas, so that hopefully you get some insights and some understanding of what's happening and how you can position your business to reap the benefits of what's available currently with some of the technology and marketing tools out there.
Right, and we call the program Buzz 101 because really we talk about it for right around roughly 101 seconds. We're really just scratching the surface on a lot of these topics, but we do feel like a lot of the themes that are brought up here can be applied to essentially any business, especially those that are trying digital marketing, which the percentage continues to grow. I want to say it's up to near 75% of small businesses are using some sort of social media. So again, we're no self-proclaimed gurus or anything. We're here just to offer our opinions, and then that's pretty much how it goes.
It's the game we play. So why don't we get started with our first topic of the day, which is something that we've talked about quite a bit. You had a former experience as being a teacher in the public school system, and you're back here, so we know how well that worked out for everybody. Thanks for that compliment. Yeah, no, none of your fault, I'm sure, but one of the things that pops up a lot is how employees are kind of handled for their actions or inactions in social media. And there's been a bunch of articles about this where people are losing their jobs based upon comments that they make in social media, but there's been some recent stories about people that are actually losing their jobs because of liking certain stories. And part of what I wanted to come back to is, what does this mean for small business, where now not even writing things, not even your thoughts, just connecting yourself to maybe mildly controversial topics and subjects are actually getting people fired. They're losing their jobs. Is this going to maybe prevent some people from using social media openly and honestly, and how might that affect small business marketing if people are being very cautious about what they do?
Yeah, and I think one of the major things is to really separate your personal values from your business values. Okay, if you're a very strong, say, Republican, make sure you like anything on that end on your personal account. You don't want to attach your business to anything that could, mildly controversial topics, in my opinion. Interestingly enough about that article, there's a tax issue with a small business, and someone posted about how the business blew it, and another person that worked there liked it. That was the whole issue here. And actually, the employees won that lawsuit, which I thought was interesting as well. Even though there was a social media policy in the big manual that they give you when you're hired. So perhaps maybe having a signature on there would having them sign something, maybe that would hold up better in court. I mean, it becomes a mess. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Peter?
I think it's not the intention of social media. The intention of social media is to communicate, and from a small business perspective, it's to market. And we talk about this a lot on the show about having policies and standards. But part of what I think is more important of just having the policies is doing some training, or at least actively talking about these things on an ongoing basis with your staff to make sure that they're aware. Not in a thing like, if you do this, we're going to punish you, but just to be aware of the impacts that it has on the brand and the marketing and the business if we're not consistently on brand with our topics.
Yeah, just be careful what you like out there, folks, because it's attaching it to you and your business.
Good.
Okay, this is an issue that small businesses, essentially a lot of them don't have time, and what we found working with small business owners, they're really good at their craft, whether it's making, pottery pots or making sandwiches, whatever. All right, they're really good at their crafts, but what they have to do is wear a lot of hats. So they realize that sometimes that using their time isn't quite worth that investment. So in reference to social media, a lot of companies think about hiring a social media specialist. And I guess one of the topics is what qualifies a person as a specialist,
yeah.
A, and B, as a small business owner, what are you looking for when you want someone to take over your some social media for your small business? Because I know, Peter, this is something you're very interested in.
It is, because I see this a lot really from maybe a negative side where businesses come to us, they've hired a web designer or a social media specialist, and they're just not getting results. And I think what happens when we get into a lot of this digital media is I don't know that people expect to ask for references or tangible proof. If you were having someone come renovate your house, you wouldn't just hire anybody. You would probably want to see references, testimonials, evidence of past work. So to me, if you're going to hire anybody, I don't really care what they call themselves, specialist, guru, whatever. The proof is, can you show me some tangible evidence that you've actually produced something, particularly results? How have you helped another company in the past to build a brand? And even go through and look at their own brand. How is their social media presence built for themselves?
Right. And as a small business owner, a little bit of this, actually a large responsibility falls on you to have clear goals for them, and at the same time realistic expectations. And I think it's important, if you have an initial consulting session, which I think every social media specialist should offer up to perhaps for free, is to lay these things out. Because I've had a lot of clients that have hired social media experts, but again, in a month they're not seeing any return, or they're hoping for something that's not there, and then they go ahead and fire them. So consider that when you're looking for someone to run your social media.
And social media is an amplifier. It's not a driver. So you might have actually a great social media specialist, and you might not be getting results because you're not doing the traditional marketing very well on your own end.
Good point. All right, so folks, part of Buzz 101 is we want to have a conversational aspect to this. I mean, here and I can look good and talk all day, which we've done so far. But we do like to hear from our viewers as well. What kind of things are you curious about? What do you want to know more about? Maybe if you see an article that of interest pertaining to social media that you want us to talk about on the show. All these things are stuff that we'd like to hear from you. There's multiple ways to connect with us. Obviously, if we're talking about social media, we have networks ourselves. You can connect with us via Google+. All of our episodes are archived on YouTube, so you can make a comment on YouTube as well. Or you can use the Ask Question button on our Kutztown SBDC website. And also we have Twitter at Kutztown SBDC. So feel free to tweet us there. So just take a moment, if you could, and provide us some feedback, or again, ask questions. All of those are very welcome.
And if you're watching us either live or even watching a tape version of this, leave us some feedback. There's a survey button on our website that Mike mentioned, kutztownsbdc.org. But even in the comment section, leave us some feedback. Leave us an idea of what you think, what you want to see, what you want to hear from us, and we'll do our best to make sure we give that to you. All right, moving on. I wanted to talk about this concept. It kind of leads in from our first topic about being careful with what you do online, and the expectation of privacy, and the role responsibility you have in maintaining your own personal digital brand and profile, as well as a business maintaining its brand. There was an article on Inc.com. Inc. magazine did an interview with Mark Cuban, who's been all over the place, very, very well-known entrepreneur, owns the Dallas Mavericks, but also is on the show Shark Tank, and does all kinds of things. And he really brought up this concept that privacy is going to be maybe the next frontier in social media and digital environments. He's really concerned with the permanence of these statements, and maybe there's a like that you did when you were 19 years old 5 years ago on Facebook, but that like is still there. You might have changed, but after all the other thousands upon thousands of posts, there's still that history of what you were doing many, many years ago now that social media is becoming a bit more mature. And part of the question is, what does that mean? And same thing for business. What does that mean when your tweets, your posts are compiled month after month after month? You might have change in staff. You might have change in leadership. Do you go back and modify, adjust, delete all of the stuff that you talked about years ago that might not be on brand anymore? So part of what I wanted to kind of bring up today was, what is this permanent issue of online and social media have to do with small business and marketing, and are there things that they need to be doing to make sure that what they have tweeted in the past is still concurrent and relevant to what they are promoting as a brand today?
I mean, I think when you're talking about the basic consumer, the person that you're targeting, a small, consumer's not going to look, I don't think, going to look back and maybe a very, not look back in 2009 and see a post and be like, oh, their motto changed or anything like that. So when it comes to the general everyday consumer, I think that you're looking at people that want the current stuff. They're not going to be researching, archiving in the past. It was a little bit, I don't know, scary article or a scary thing that he's talking about. Because again, everything is archived. He talked about in reference to hiring, of course, people being able to look at your past and see, that one picture of you in front of a beer can pyramid, 5 years ago, and judging them based off of that. And he even came out with he's come out with 2 apps himself, one called Cyberdust and one called Expire, where these conversations are deleted. So I think in small business cases, I mean, a bad review 5 years ago, are people going to look back that far? Maybe. I'm not sure how much of an implication it is for small businesses, but personally, I think that it's something that anybody should keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I think this is something that we like to keep bringing up here, is the fact that social media, digital marketing, this world is fluid and it's changing, and as individuals are feeling different points of stress, this is all going to translate into how people do business in the social media and digital marketing environment. And we just want you to be aware that there are changes constantly happening so that you can be fluid with your own personal choices in how you handle social media or digital marketing uses in your own business.
Absolutely. All right, this next story, I like it because I actually am a screenwriter. That's one of my passions, so I like to tell stories. And this article that I found was actually about had to do with blogs, and a lot of times people are like, what the heck am I supposed to blog about? I don't know what to talk about. What this article talked about was using storytelling, actually telling a story as a way of blogging for your business. Because we're going to talk about the benefits of the blog a little bit later, so I don't want to get too much into that. But I mean, in regards to actual blog content, Peter, what do you think about this concept of storytelling and what made someone tell a story about in regards to a business?
I think it's really important that your business does have a story and that it is consistent and that it runs through everything, your website, your social media, your blogs. Even when people walk into your store, it would be great to see the story that got you to this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I took a class, I think about a year ago at Penn State, that was actually called Storytelling in Organizations, and it really walk through the process of generating those stories and capturing the stories, because they are critical and important to people building a relationship with your business. And I think we might not necessarily feel it on a day-to-day basis, but there is actually a real relationship that we have with our favorite business. And if you've ever thought about a local restaurant that is closed, we just had this. We went for our traditional Friday Chinese buffet a few weeks ago when we got to the doors and they were locked, and we said, oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
Over,
What will we do? There's not another Chinese buffet for miles. And it was kind of
dramatic.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, I don't know if it would medically qualify as a trauma, but for short term, it meant something, that this is a place that we like and we enjoy, and it became part of our lives. And I think that's where storytelling matters.
Yeah, and I think, what do you tell stories about? Stories about, again, how your business got started, stories about overcoming obstacles, stories that teach, something about in your trade, stories that mimic your company values. These are all things that you could tell stories about. I think it really adds a human layer to your business. It's fine and good to be professional, but having these stories gives it that human layer. Even if it's a story about a mistake you made, it just shows that you're a human, and you're, even though it's a digital medium, there's a person behind that.
Yeah. All right, so again, we just want to remind you again that this is both live and interactive. So if you're watching us, feel free, connect with us. Google Plus is one of the ways you can interact with us. If you're watching us on YouTube, which is really the outlet for it, there's a comment section below the video that you can actually write comments or questions in there, and we'll be able to pick those up and address those live here in actually about 6 or 7 minutes. We'll actually start addressing some of the live questions as they come in. And then if you're watching us and you're on our website, please, there's a survey button at the top. Please take a moment to click on that, drop us a line, or ask us a question. Both of those buttons are active, and we're actually receiving that information real time. It's one of the things that I think is different and unique about Buzz 101 is we're on live. I mean, this is it. So anything can happen. So far, fortunately, nothing bad has ever happened. No, we've made it through. I guess this is episode number 6. But the point is, we're live. Take advantage of that. Reach out to us, and we're gonna try to answer your questions immediately as soon as you send them in to us. So be creative, have fun with it. We'd be more than happy to dance around any question that you might throw at us.
Bring it on.
I want to continue this conversation about blogs because I do think blogging is maybe the
underrated.
Yeah, underrated, just underappreciated form of digital marketing. And I went out and did some of my own digging into some articles about what are blogs good for, and the benefits are great. You know, it drives traffic to your website, turns traffic into leads, which turn into actual revenue streams. It builds credibility and authority. But it just doesn't seem to get the love and the attention, especially that social media gets. And to kind of build on that, there was an article that was talking about all kinds of different forms of digital marketing, and it gave all these lists and statistics about things, and I just did a general observation. On these lists, things like search engine optimization, great thing, very important to be mindful of. There were 10 statistics listed for that. Blogging, again, we just talked about the benefits. It only had 7. When we got to social media, there were more than 60 items listed next to social media as why social media is great.
Right.
And I just come back and I say, what's wrong with a blog? Because I really think blogs are great and possibly, in my mind, maybe the most influential form of digital marketing. I think YouTube may be the best. In my mind, I would push YouTube first, but blogging, I think, might be the second most critical component to building brand, building authority, and driving traffic. Why are blogs not getting the attention?
Why they're not getting the love? I honestly am not too sure, because as you just said, there's a ton of value to it, and within that article it said, you know, people would post a blog and 70% of the traffic they would get was not in the month that they posted the blog. So it was continual traffic, whereas you post a Facebook post within a day, pretty much no one else is going to click it. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we should do a promotional thing for blogs, because I mean,
I think so.
I don't know if it's the name recognition. You know, you have a brand name attached to Facebook, Twitter, whereas a blog, you know, you have different various things. You have WordPress, you have Blogger, you have all these different things. Maybe people don't feel like there's too much time that needs to be dedicated towards a blog post. They can't upkeep it. I think it's just an excuse. I mean, I'm not sure why I don't get as much attention, because, as you said, behind YouTube, it could be one of the most influential parts to web traffic.
Yeah, and I think you're kind of right that the mindset is a social media post is quick. It's easy, and a blog, I have to be mindful. I need an introduction. I need a storyteller. I need a writer like somebody like Mike to make that happen. I think it's just the opposite. I think it's really difficult to create engaging, relevant social media content in 140 characters, whatever it might be. Whereas I think if you just open up and are authentic, or do a demo of your product, of your service, or do a quick testimonial with your clients, I think that stuff has value long term, and the blog forum and format benefits that long-term livelihood of that content, whereas social media, I mean, if you get few hours of life out of it, you're lucky.
You're lucky, yeah. So go out there and blog, people. All right, final article, one that I found in you know, we think about celebrities tweeting, and more often than not, it's about some idiot celebrity that posted an off-color comment, and then, you know, hour their PR rep says to delete it, and then they're in hot water for a while, and then eventually it goes off. So oftentimes the connotation is when celebrities tweeting is that it's negative, and what did Taylor Swift have for breakfast? I mean, I'm curious, yeah, but most people aren't. But the point of the article is, folks, is there are some savvy celebrities out there that know how to tweet and know how to engage their audience. So what it basically took is these successful celebrities and applied what they're doing to a small business mindset. So, Peter, after reading that article, what were some things that these celebrities did that maybe businesses can learn from? They're not going to have the following, but they might be able to.
That's okay, and this is something else that we mention this time and time again. We've seen it from multiple authors. So to me, it means there's some meat behind this. If we're reading it in all different types of forums and all different types of spaces, first thing, you got to give something. You got to give people a reason to like you, to follow you, to share something. And if you're always just promoting yourself without giving, there's no real value. There's no reason to connect. And
there was a country music singer who had tweeted a concert just for Twitter followers. If you didn't follow her on Twitter, you weren't able to go to the concert.
It's great. And that's also that point of being personal. Be who you really are. Don't necessarily go out and post quotes or things that you don't believe in. While there's some value in general quotes, why don't you tell me what you have to think or say? Because that's what I might decide why I want to connect with you and follow. And it's also back to this general concept: be genuine, be real and authentic. Because especially in social media, if you're going to connect and you're going to post regularly, if your model is up and down and all around, people are going to get really frustrated because you're inconsistent with who you are.
Yeah, and I mean, even celebrities, they stick to their brand.
Absolutely.
Like I follow Mark Cuban. We talked about him earlier. He's always posting relevant information about entrepreneurial articles and advice towards that, and of course, Maverick stuff too. Yeah. But he is a specific brand. So then these celebrities know that, and they take advantage of that through tweeting. So I think same thing applies for a small business.
It's general concept. Yeah. If we opened up any marketing textbook, I think we have a couple up here. If we opened up any one of those, open up to branding, first thing it's going to tell you most likely is be consistent.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's all. That's what we're learning from these celebrities. Be consistent.
Sure. All right, so this is the point in our show where we are going to take some questions from either Twitter, or people have commented on YouTube, or asked a question through our Ask a Question feature. So we're going to look over the Twitter feed and email to see what we have in regards to questions. So our first question is from Bob from South Carolina.
All right.
Yeah. He says, how long should I try social media marketing before I give up? Well, loaded question.
Oh, man. Yeah.
ROI, return on investment, comes into play here. Peter, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I don't think you should ever give up on marketing. But maybe you adjust and you fluctuate and you change the style, the format. Even though I know we just told you be consistent. If you're being consistent for a good amount of time, and to me that's got to be over the course of months. If you're doing this for days, you're not going to see results. It's kind of like a personal fitness plan.
It is.
You might wake up every morning, change your diet, and work out. But if you've done it for a week, it doesn't matter. You're not going to see those results. So I always think about marketing in this form of fitness. It's a long-term game. And if one thing might be making a little bit of difference on the positive side, but removing it might actually be a very negative thing, especially in social media. If you're getting followers and things are building, if people are engaging with you at any level, meaning new followers on a regular basis, retweets, likes, or shares,
traffic, perhaps,
it's gonna build, but it's gonna take time. So the point is, I wouldn't give up anything that you're doing as long as it's working at a little level. You might want to scale back the time and energy you're putting in, but don't give up unless you're getting negative comments, negative feedback, or it's hurting your business. If it's not hurting, I think there's a chance that at some point it's going to be very helpful for you.
Right, and part of the when I should give up, it starts with clearly defined goals on your small, I should say realistic goals on the side of the small business. Because if you have goals and if you're seeing again a little bit of an increase in your web traffic, you're getting likes and followers. I think you're starting to get some sort of return. But at the same rate, if you haven't posted anything for a month or you haven't tweeted for 3 weeks, you might want to consider it's almost better to not have that social media presence than to have an inactive one. Am I right?
Yeah, I think you're right. If you can't at least maintain a regular posting schedule and once a month is not, I mean it's consistent, but it's really not enough. That I think you need to maybe back off, because someone's going to maybe find that, they're going to stumble upon that, and they're going to look and they're going to see you haven't made any updates in 27 days, and they're going to say, why would I engage with this? There's nothing here.
Returns for the consumer, right?
But you brought up a great point, which is expectations, and I think that's the general theme of why we do a show like Buzz 101. Is I think I'll speak for myself, and you can maybe see if that matches what you've been experiencing. When I talk to clients that are looking for marketing advice, their expectations far exceed what I think reality can deliver through digital marketing, whether that's blogging, social media, websites. The expectations are massive,
right?
And that's where when I hear things about giving up, I get really concerned, because in my mind you give up because the expectations not being met. So that might mean that maybe you as the individual set expectations that are just unrealistic. And I don't know. I see all these posts and people trying to sell things like, give me a week and I'll make a difference. I just think that's really possible.
Right. And if you can keep even if it's a small group of loyal people attached to your business, I think you're doing something successful. It means nothing to have 1,000 likes from all across the world. So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
One other quick question from Monica Redding. She asked, what questions should I ask as if I'm a social media specialist in order to decide if they're a right fit? What kind of things if you sit down with a specialist?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think very similar. Yeah, specialist. It's similar to any professional service provider that you might work with or engage with. Is what's been your past experience? What's been your past performance?
That's important.
But I would also be asking them expectations. And if you start getting a feeling, just a gut internal feeling that this just isn't really doable, or it just seems really strong, if the specialist is coming to you and you just don't feel comfortable with that, I think it starts raising some red flags, and you might say, this isn't really feeling comfortable to me, and I don't know that it's even possible that they're going to generate 1,000 followers for me in 2 weeks.
Right.
Again, back to your point, which is they might be following me or connecting with me in social, but are they my customers? Are they actually going to buy things from me? Because if not, what's the point?
Yeah, and there's actually a website called Fiverr. I don't know if you've ever heard of Fiverr before. Five and then double R. Basically, you can sell services for $5, right? And people post on there, I will get you 1,000 followers, or I will get you 100 likes for $5, or I'll recommend you on LinkedIn for $5. So I mean, it's just it's obviously not going to be any value to you, because the people you're talking to aren't going to be listening, because again they're no connection to your business at all. So I think you nailed it with the kind of questions that you're talking to them. And again, past performance is key. If they can show you, hey, this business from this day 1 to day 90 it got this kind of increase. If they can show you tangible results, I think that's huge.
Yeah, I think if you're talking to a specialist, possibly of any kind, especially in the marketing field, if they're not coming with an extensive portfolio, they're basically using you as a training and development. They're using you as the college course that's going to teach about social media. If that's the case, they really should not be charging a very high rate at all, because they don't have that portfolio. So even if you're a young person out there wanting to start a social media company, first thing you need to do is build your own social media to a very engaged and credible position.
Good point.
And then start finding some other people that you can build and engage with, because I got to tell you, I would never hire somebody that didn't have an extensive portfolio.
Right, right. And folks, appreciate the questions, and we're just about ready to wrap up. It's 11:30, so I think we covered a good amount of topics today. You know, and we talked about blogs, privacy, you know, tweeting, all that good stuff. So make sure you tune in the future.
Next week we actually have a guest host because you're doing double duty. So actually we have a Kutztown University student will be joining us and talking a little bit about the business he's actually starting up right now while he's a student, which is social media related. Awesome. So please join us next week. This is going to be, in my mind, a really special episode. Not because you're not here. That's, you know, I know I'm going to miss you, but we have a really cool young man that is taking that entrepreneurial plunge and starting a business right here. So he'll be on with us talking about social media as well as his own business. So join us again. Whether it's live or online via the archives on YouTube. We'd love to have you.
Folks, your customers are talking. Are you listening?